Get started if we can. So I want to simply welcome everyone here to the candidate forum hosted jointly by the League of Women Voters and the Peekskill NAACP. Welcome this Saturday morning. And we have speakers from the League of Women Voters who are really going to look at the questions that you've submitted, and they will, she is the moderator. You'll introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Suzanne Kavik. I'm president of the League of Women Voters of Newcastle. I'm a retired physician. We actually have, I'm going to go through some ground rules and kind of give you an intro. Is that good?
That's perfect.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much for coming out today. It's really important that you're all involved, and we're really thrilled to see such a great turnout, and thank you for the questions. I think I can read most of people's writing so far. So, like I said, I'm from Newcastle, and it's really important for you to understand that the League of Women Voters strives to be impartial. We're nonpartisan, and so we, on purpose, have the moderator be from another league. I don't know anything about your particular issues. I don't vote here in Peekskill, so I have no skin in the game. I would ask you to, because we have a lot going on today, we have a lot of candidates, and I can already see you guys have lots of questions, please hold all applause and public comments, anything like that, till at the end, once the forum ends, so that we can get through as much as we can and you can hear what your candidates have to say. I want to let you know that the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan grassroots political organization of both women and men, despite the name, men are involved as well. So we don't support or advocate for any one particular party or candidate, okay? We are dedicated to the active and informed participation of citizens in all level of government. So we work to educate voters, increase understanding and debate on major policy issues, and influence policy through education and advocacy. We take positions on policies, but not candidates or parties. The local leagues are volunteer organizations, so events like this are all volunteer, and we fund these through membership dues and donations. So here are some of the ground rules for today's forum. The order of the opening statements has been determined by lots that were drawn prior to the meeting. The order of the closing statements will also be in the same order as opening, but we're going to reverse it for the first question, and then I will alternate and reverse for further questions. Throughout this forum, no comments of a personal or abusive nature are going to be permitted. I'll rule you out of order. Please don't make me remove anybody from this place. But we're going to keep this clean. Each candidate will have either a minute, that's for the council race, or a minute and a half, that's for your mayoral race and for the board of legislators, for their opening, their close, and answering any questions, okay? There is a timekeeper, Mary Kirsch from the Newcastle League, will be sitting here. They're able to see, she'll be putting up signs at 30 seconds, a minute, and end. And I'll be able to see that as well. You guys have submitted questions ahead of time. If you have a question for the races that haven't yet started, meaning the mayoral and the board of legislators, then you can turn those in to Mary. We'll have just very quick turnover in between, so if you think of a question you want for those, please submit them to her. The questions must be brief, under a minute, and they simply cannot just be a statement. They need to ask a question, okay? And again, personal nature, abusive, any kind of attack, it's just not going to be permitted. Any question addressed to one particular candidate will be, the other candidates will have the opportunity to answer that as well. Again, they'll be giving the closing statement of either a minute or a minute and a half, and we've got a lot of candidates. We have 4 of your 6 candidates for 3 positions for the city council, and we have 2 candidates for mayor and 2 for the board, your Democratic primary, Westchester County Board of Legislators, District 1.
Not primary.
Oh, sorry. Not primary, just thank you. Okay, so any questions? All right, we're going to start with our council candidates, and they are seated in the order that they've drawn lots from 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to begin with Mr. Mahan. Please introduce yourself and your opening.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event along with the NAACP. My name is Marlon Mahan, and I am seeking your support to become your next council member representative here in Peekskill. Over the years, I have enjoyed the growth and expansion of everything that's been happening here in Peekskill. At the same time, I have also become concerned with some of the activities and the lack of transparency with our current administration, as well as the lack of civility in dealing with the citizens here in Peekskill. So today I hope to answer your questions, gain your confidence, and help you understand how myself and the rest of my ticket intend on taking the city forward to the next level and achieving our greatest potential. Thank you.
Next is Vivian McKenzie.
Good morning, thank you for coming. I'm Vivian McKenzie, currently sit on the council, and I've been on the council for 6 years. I am a Peekskill Democrat, supported by the Peekskill Democratic Party, a lifelong resident of Peekskill. I currently sit on the board of the Hudson Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm a liaison to the Peekskill IDA, and I own and operate a small business here in the city of Peekskill. And for more than 20 years, I worked in the insurance industry. I hold a bachelor's degree in management from Binghamton University. I've served on the city council, as I said, for 6 years. I'm seeking re-election because I want to continue building a 21st century city that everyone can afford to live in. I bring experience to the table. During my tenure, I've worked to streamline the development and processes for planning, bringing housing development that provides housing for all, kept taxes under the tax cap, appointed the first African-American judge, appointed the first female judge, and we're making our city more energy efficient and greener, and worked with our school district to make this the best school district that we can possibly have for our children. I'm invested in the city and want to see it to continue moving forward and flourish.
Thank
We
you.
are diverse.
Thank you. Next, we have Lauren Brady.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out, and thank you to everybody who put this together and had us here. My name is Lauren Brady, and I grew up in Peekskill. I went to preschool at Presbyterian Church, pre-K on Park Street. I went to Woodside Elementary School, our middle school, and I'm a proud graduate 2003 of Peekskill High School. I currently work for the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce, where I not only plan our community events, but I also work with our small businesses on a daily basis to ensure their success. I also am the founder, co-founder, and director of the This Is Me Foundation, where out of the 56 scholarships that we've given locally and nationally, over 25 have gone directly to Peekskill seniors who have faced adversity or helped others through adversity. I stand here in front of you today because I think we need to strengthen the partnership between our citizens and City Hall. I am part of a team that can do just that. We have the skills, experience, and compassion to make Peekskill the best it can be. And let's bring Peekskill together.
Thank you. Kathy Talbot.
Good morning, everybody. I wrote something down. I'm not feeling so well today. My name is Kathy Talbot. I'm Deputy Mayor of Peekskill, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. And I want to thank everybody for having the League and the NAACP. I've served on the Common Council for nearly 8 years, and over 3 administrations. I've seen a lot, and I've learned a lot about government, industry, balancing budget choices, and the importance of being an advocate for residents. I've served on numerous boards and I've been liaison, but there are 3 things that I'm really passionate about. Being a responsive citizen advocate, supporting the Paramount Theater as we develop a new management team, and continuing to make Peekskill green and reduce our carbon footprint. We've made significant progress, but there's more to do. I spent a lot of time doing council work, and I believe I'm making a solid contribution to our city. Just this week, I attended the New York Power Authority Solar Conference in Albany, and learned a great deal about community solar and the direction electricity providers.
Kathy, your time is up.
Okay.
But the nice thing is, because she spoke last there, you're going to get the first question. So you can stay standing. So the first question is, are you satisfied with the current business and economic climate of the city of Peekskill, or do you feel that more needs to be done?
How much time for?
1 minute. Okay, 1 minute.
I'm really satisfied in the following. I'm satisfied that our Moody's rating has been raised. I think that's wonderful, and that gives us more benefit when we go for doing bonding. We get it at a better rate. We have kept the taxes under the tax cap, and who could argue with that? And I think that we have made some really good choices in terms of bringing developers in and getting the most out of the developers. So I would say that we're in pretty good shape. Is there room for improvement? There's always room for improvement. There's room for improvement in my own finances, and there's room for improvement in the city. But as we keep going, Peekskil's a hot item right now. Everybody says that. No matter where I go in the county, people are saying, oh, you live in Peekskill. Wow, I wish I could live in Peekskill. And so there's a lot of people coming up here, and I think that's only going to help Peekskill grow and prosper.
Ms. Brady? Could you repeat the question? Sure. Are you satisfied with the current business and economic climate of the city of Peekskill, or do you feel that more needs to be done?
So as I work with the Chamber of Commerce, again, I'm supporting daily our small businesses, but I do think we need a little more commercial development. We also need more job opportunities. That commercial development would open up jobs for not only all of us residents here, but a lot of our youth, so that they could learn and do better. If we look about downtown, we also need to make sure we have a Paramount that's thriving, because that's what feeds our small businesses. We need to put out a better RFP to give it better private-public partnership so that we can make that thrive, because with that, we can then expand and go into our small businesses. You know, we have so many great businesses here. A lot of them are from people that have lived here and grown up here. We need to make sure we have people walking the streets that are supporting those businesses. And, you know, especially if I speak specifically about downtown, the Paramount, people coming in, they're the ones that go to those businesses. So I think we have a lot of improvement to do in supporting small businesses, as well as creating some more commercial businesses for more jobs and more opportunity for all the people in our city. Thank you.
Mrs. Lindsay?
So as a small business owner downtown, if I relied on the Paramount to bring in all my business, I'd be in a world of trouble. You cannot let one place be the catalyst to bring in business. Paramount doesn't run Monday through Friday. If it's here on the weekend and we're doing something, that's great. So we need to do more than the Paramount. Commercial business is key, and that's why we're looking at the new business that we're bringing in, that there is a commercial component to it. We are looking at technology. We have Bree Pettis, who just came in. He's bringing in jobs. He has a commercial component. He's fixing buildings on the waterfront. So these are all things that we are doing, have done, and will continue to do. When you talk about small businesses, the structure of our buildings downtown, it's not like we haven't gone out to look for commercial business, but the size of our buildings makes it very hard to find stores who want to come in and take that kind of space. So with the new development that's coming on, that gives us opportunity. But when you look at, say, a Chico's clothing store or something tattooed, they're looking for particular large space stores, and our small downtown stores don't give us that liability for it. But as we move forward with other development, we're looking to be able to do that. Thank you.
First of all, I don't think that we should ever be satisfied. I think we should always find opportunities to grow and do better, and certainly learn from what we have been doing to date. In terms of the business and economic situation in the city today, I strongly believe that we need to strike a better balance in what is coming to Peekskill. I'm a big proponent of more commercial development to contribute to the tax base. That will also provide jobs and opportunities for the citizens here in Peekskill. I'm a big proponent for forming new private and public partnerships where we can develop programs to provide opportunities for high school students who may not have the opportunity to go on to college, but certainly we want to keep them here at Peekskill and have them continue to call Peekskill home. I'm also a big proponent for real estate development that, again, will continue to contribute to the tax base. We have a booming rental environment right now, but we do need to have homes where people are contributing to the tax base through property taxes.
That minute goes pretty quickly, doesn't it? It feels like it might. Okay, so we're going to start with Ms. Brady for this one. If you're truly bipartisan, then please give examples of any work you've done in the past that would be bipartisan.
So we're very lucky. We have a really great bipartisan team. I just first want to say that that bipartisan team wasn't put together just so we could have 2 Democrats to show you and 2 Republicans. It was everybody's strength together that made it a full ticket. So I've done a lot of work to show my bipartisanship. I own a not-for-profit called the This Is Me Foundation that is helping everybody with kids who face adversity, being proud of who you are. I don't care what party you are. I've been showing this and supporting our community through all different ways. You have to be open to everybody. Myself, I'm a registered Republican, and I'm proud to say that because that doesn't just key me into a certain hole. My father's a Republican, and I'm so proud of all the work he's done with Peekskill, but we disagree on a lot too. It is okay to be registered the same way and disagree. We all have to work together and stop looking at just how we're registered as a party, because I know I've been doing that my whole life, helping all of our citizens, no matter who you are, where you come from, or where you live. Thank you.
Mrs. Nancy.
So sitting on the council, when people come to the podium, you're not looking at what their party is. Half the time, I don't know what their party is. The object is to get the job done and get it done the right way for as many people as possible. Now, you can look around and you can say it doesn't matter what your political party is or this or that. There's strategic strategy and then there's strategic strategy. If you're Democrat, why aren't you running with a Democrat? If you're Republican, why aren't you running on that ticket? Whatever your strategy is, that may be it. But I'm a Democrat, a proud Democrat, and if you look at our national environment today, it really matters where you sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So, I look at bipartisanship in terms of what do you want to do in terms of working with people? And that's what I do every day of my professional life. As a consultant, companies hire me to come in and help them solve their problems, and I tell people all the time, most of the times I don't have the answers. What I do is I bring people to the table to have a conversation and find that common ground, that middle ground to solve their problems. I am a quintessential active listener, so bipartisanship to me means listening to everyone in the community, working hand in hand to make sure that we find the best solutions for the problems that we're going to have, regardless of your political affiliation or any other divisiveness that exists today in our society. And I truly believe that with that experience that I have, I can work with the council, with other departments here in the city to make sure that we're finding the common ground and the right answers for the problems that we have here in Peekskill.
Thank you. Ms. Talbot.
Well, first of all, to me, bipartisan means working Democrats with Republicans. I mean, we all know that that's been an issue in Washington, that there's not been enough bipartisanship, right? In Peekskill, for me, I've reached out and I've gotten a lot of support from my Republican friends and neighbors. One of the best experiences I had was when I wanted to do a gun buyback program last year. And Louis Lanza happened to overhear me. We were at the same meeting. And he said, "Can I help?" I said, "You bet." So the two of us worked together. And Louis, I know, isn't my party, and I don't care. We had a common interest in pulling that, what turned out to be the most successful gun buyback program we've ever had. We raised almost $25,000. And the fact is, I couldn't have done that without Louis, and I don't think Louis could have done it without me. So to me, that's a wonderful example of bipartisanship.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to Mr. Kinsey. This is a two-part question. Where do you stand on holding the line on taxes, fines, and fees in Peekskill? And would you pledge, if elected, to try to reduce spending and work for further tax reduction in the future? Can you repeat that? Sure. Where do you stand on holding the line on taxes, fines, and fees in Peekskill? And would you pledge, if elected, to try to reduce spending and work for tax reduction in the future?
So, holding the line on taxes. We have together for the taxes under the tax cap since I've been on the council with one exception. So we do that very well. We are working, we have a fantastic controller who looks every day to save the city money. We look constantly for any kind of grants and things that are out there. So yes, I will hold the line on taxes, and yes, we're looking to save the city money, but yet bring services to the city that we definitely need.
So,
Peekskill is an expanding city, and we have an influx of residents and visitors here on a daily basis. In terms of holding the line on taxes, fines, and fees, I would explore any possibility to do that. However, let's be realistic. As there's more demand in the city, right, we're going to have to provide the right services at the right level that we're all going to be happy with. So again, I can't guarantee that we're going to be able to hold the line, but I certainly think that we would all be open to making sure that the services that are being provided are of the quality that we want at the right cost. In terms of reducing the budget, same concept applies. The more the city has, the more people we have here, the transient all living here, it's going to require money to provide the services that we want. So I would be more focused on making sure that those services are being supplied to the level and quality of your expectations, and making sure that we could do so within a managed budget.
Ms. Talbot?
I'm sorry, can you?
Yes.
That was a long
That's
question.
a long one.
I mean, I think
Okay.
I got the gist of it, but let me.
Where do you stand on holding the line on taxes, fines, and fees in Peekskill? And would you pledge, if elected, to try to reduce spending in the future?
We're about to enter into our budget period. I've just got, actually it's out in the car, I've just got my first draft of the budget, the city manager's budget. And every time we go through this, and I've been on the council 8 years, we drill down and try to save every last little penny. We've had a balanced budget almost 8 years. And so I'm real happy about that. Would I save? Of course. I'm nothing if not saving. I'll tell you what, you know, I'm a senior citizen. I look around Peekskill, I see my neighbors. There's 3 of us in a row, single women, trying to keep our houses, trying to stay in Peekskill. That's something that that's my paradigm. I look at that and I say, we want to keep those people in Peekskill as the new people come in, and we have high income renters up on Fort Hill, which is great, and we have some of the other development that we have. But we have to do smart development, and we have to really drill down on the budget.
Thank you.
I'm getting that stop sign all the time.
I know.
Since it's a long question, I apologize if I have to look down, trying to get. So I'm going to try to answer actually as a whole as 2 together. So in regards to holding the line and reducing our budget. So I think something that's great, we never want to raise taxes. Nobody wants to raise taxes. We all pay taxes, right? But we do need to take that budget and prioritize where our money is being spent. So the projected budget that came out last week, I've been looking into, and it appears that, and this is again is projected, so nothing is in stone, but we're down 42 employees since 2012. And that's part-time and full-time in this projected budget. And because of that, think of all the development and how much we've grown. We talk about how much we grow. And this leads back to why our streets need to be clean and all that type of stuff. So I really think in order to keep the line and then reduce, we need to take a deep look at that budget and prioritize and where our needs really need to focus and where that money needs to be spent. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to move on to a question. I have several questions on the issue of fire hydrants. So, Mr. Mahan, the questions are the fire hydrants safe? Do they need to be inspected? And what would you do to correct the issue of low pressure?
I think we're all aware that over the past few months there have been several fires here in Peekskill, and through conversations with both full-time and part-time firefighters here in Peekskill, we've learned that the response to several of those fires have yielded low pressure in the fire hydrants. So first and foremost, absolutely, I think this is an issue that we need to address. It's a public safety issue, and absolutely something needs to be done. In terms of how do we go about that, first of all, I think that we need to do a comprehensive study across the city to make sure that not only is the water pressure correct, but that the fire hydrants are working. I have a fire hydrant at the corner, at the end of my driveway. I've been there for 15 years, and I can't tell you that fire hydrant has been inspected once in 15 years. So I do think that we need to take a comprehensive look and make the right infrastructure changes with the pipe system to make sure that the water pressure is up to par when the fire occurs.
Ms. Talbot?
Well, I'm guessing that you don't stand there and watch your fire hydrant 24 hours a day. The fact of the matter is that the fire people have told us that they go out and they do that work at night, and the city water department, who is a great guy, Dave Rambo, is aware of this, and he's doing a rotation throughout the city, cleaning and making sure the fire hydrants are working. If you have specific fire hydrants that you're talking about and it's not working, I'll tell you what, why don't you give us a call and we'll get that dealt with. But this situation is being dealt with And also, we're starting to rebuild some of our old infrastructure. As you all know, Peekskill is very, very old, and the infrastructure, like the sewer systems and the water mains and all of that, as we build new ones, we're going to be building down Lower South Street, so that will be upgraded and modernized. So we're doing the best we can on that, but we'll try to do better.
That's great.
So, I know it's tough. You sometimes don't know a fire hydrant doesn't work until it's too late. So we appreciate all the work that's being done, and they should be flushed now, but we shouldn't have had to wait for 2 fires that happened where they've had to go blocks. And I'm hearing this again from career and volunteer firefighters. One of the recent fires, I knew the people in that house. And thank God everybody in these recent fires have been safe, and we thank our career and volunteer firefighters. But if that fire happened near your house, you don't want to wait. And I mean, you do know when a fire, I think the water, when you know when it's been flushed, there's water everywhere, right? But we don't want to wait until it is too late to find out. We haven't flushed so many of these fire hydrants in so long, and we need to make sure that process is going, because the #1 issue and the #1 priority for our city has to be our citizen safety. So let's not wait till it's too late to make sure that in case of an emergency, they cannot be helped.
So experience would tell you that we have a schedule for flushing hydrants. And flushing a hydrant is not going to give you water pressure. But you can check with Dave Rambo, and he can show you the schedule to show you where every fire hydrant is addressed within our city, either biannually or annually. In terms of infrastructure, we are working. As we dig up things, we're looking at what we have to repair. This is an old city. It's been a long time since things have been done, but we're working on it. Yes, there are fires, and fortunately people are not injured, thank God. But it's not like our departments are not aware of what's going on and working to get the systems done. In terms of Washington Street, you will see how it is dug up. If anybody comes in and digs up, we are checking the piping and we're redoing it, so that as we go through the city, everything will be done. But on the budget that we have and in the city that we have, we can't do everything at one year.
Okay, Ms. Talbot, this is going to be the final question before they're closing off the statements. What are your plans to make Peekskill a green city?
Oh, glad you asked that question. One of the things that I'm looking forward to, we've done a lot. We've had solarized Peekskill, we had the community choice aggregation program. We've got, right now, we've got the Honeywell program that's repairing a lot of our old buildings, including the Paramount and this building right here, and trying to save on our energy and make things much more green. And we're working with all of our developers as they come in, into town, or to make sure that they do things like consider green roofs and possibly geothermal if it's a new build. One of the things that I'm looking forward to working on is a community solar project, which will have benefit for everyone in town. So that's something that's current, and that's why I was up in Albany recently. Thank you.
Ms. Brady?
So we want to enact meaningful and realistic environmental progress and change. First, we really need to use our experts. The CAC is a group of experts, literally scientists, that know stuff. I know I don't know everything about environmental change. We need to really use our experts to make sure we're doing the best we can. If we work on the issue of like a walkable city and have more bike paths, that will help bring it down. It's basic stuff like that. Sometimes it's starting small and growing bigger. We can do things like to make our carbon neutral government, and I apologize as this day is going on, I'm losing my words. You know, there's been things that have been proposed, like a solar farm on South Street, that was rejected. Where can we use our property to make the best environmental decisions? But again, that can just start small by making a walkable town. We try and take away the fees for Saturday garbage so that we can get rid of the garbage and less garbage trucks on the road. It's just little steps to make big that are meaningful and impactful for the rest of our lives here in Peekskill, not just quick fixes for today. Thank you.
Ms. McKinney?
So we're in a climate crisis, and taking small steps is great, but we need to make big improvements and we need to move rapidly with it. When you look at the energy, we just completed the Honeywell, and that is telling us what kind of energy we're using and putting us in order so that we know we're too much energy over here. Now we can put solar here and this is going to make it better. We're going through, we're changing windows in City Hall, we're changing lights. These are the things that are going to cut our carbon footprint by millions and millions. And then we move forward. We make sure that we do sensible things in terms of going green. So the solar that you talked about, so maybe it doesn't have to be on the ground, but if we can build a new DPW, maybe we can put the solar on top of the DPW. As we're looking at developers coming in, we're asking all developers to look at all solar or geothermal, whatever alternative there is before they come to us with a plan, and it's working. The people that are coming in, they're excited to do it. And so that's how we plan to move Peekskill and make it green.
So, I think there are a few things that we can do. And I've been contributing to this over the past couple of years. So first and foremost, we went solar at our house to contribute to a positive movement in reducing our energy footprint. I think at a grassroots level here in Peekskill, because we are not going to be able to solve the global problem, we need to continue to look for opportunities within our schools and other public facilities to see where we are generating waste that we can then potentially move to recyclable things. Let's look at our cafeterias, right? Are we using recyclable materials in those cafeterias? How many water bottles are we buying in our city buildings? Is there a way to move to water coolers? Small incremental changes like that, again, will not solve the global situation, but certainly will lend to our contribution in how do we move things forward. We certainly need to take a look again at...
But you can stay standing, because it's time for closing statements, and we're doing them in the same order, so if you want to go ahead and give your closing
Sure,
statement.
so the last thing I was going to say was we need to look at the solar farm proposal that was presented a few years ago and really consider that on the south side. In closing, I'll say this. Peekskill, we are at a crossroads where we need to decide what is the leadership that we want to have in place to take us to the next level. Certainly, there's a lot of good things that have been done here, and we intend on taking those things forward and, quite frankly, leapfrogging where we can go. In order to achieve our greatest potential as a city, we need to have the right leadership, transparency in government, bringing civility back to interacting with our citizens, and really having respect for every single one of you and your families as you call Peekskill home, and make sure that we listen to the community. We're not going to have all the answers, but we can get to the right answer for Peekskill if we work together and make sure that we are spending our money properly and contributing to the tax base at the same time.
This current council is the most diverse council this city has ever seen. We have worked hard to work with all the agencies within the city to bring the city together. This city is together and moving forward already. I didn't hear my running mates here talk about keeping taxes low. They said they think about it. Well, we've kept taxes low, and we will continue to keep taxes low. We will continue to make our city green. We will continue, as we do always, working with every person who comes to the city, who comes into the city. We are open and welcoming city at all times. Our meetings are open and welcoming. People come in, they're upset. People get nasty, they do. But we accept all people, no matter who you are. And I'm asking for your vote and for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brady.
Again, I thank you guys all for coming out. You know, there's no doubt that we all love Peekskill, right? I love Peekskill. But you don't run for office just because you love your city, because if your city is all great and everything's going well, who wants to be ridiculed on the internet and on Facebook, which, you know, just a reminder, let's be kind, Peekskill's a friendly town. But you see that your city is not going in the right direction. You know, bringing Peekskill together for us, that's not just a campaign slogan. It was designed to be taken action every day, and that doesn't end on election day. That goes all the way through. We should constantly be bringing Peekskill together. We have the team that can bring real representation back to City Hall. We have a team that has experience and compassion, as I said earlier, to listen to all people, not just on Monday nights. We want to bring back an opportunity for people to speak at all times. We're ready to bring Peekskill back together. Thank you.
Ms. Howe.
I think everybody here has said at least one thing that's been worthwhile. These are my neighbors, and You all are my neighbors, and we do need to work together. I believe in that. But as far as Peekskill, where Peekskill is right now, I think that all you have to do is really look around and see the growth in Peekskill. I have been everywhere I go, in the supermarket, downtown, coffee shop, in another town. People say, wow, Peekskill is really coming along. I love what's happening up in Peekskill, or I want to move here. These are all things that are being said. Peekskill's a hot property right now. And I understand home values are going to go up 10% according to one of the things by next year. That's a good thing. So I'm asking for your support in this election. I want to continue to do the work. We've mentioned some of the work, especially in the green area, bringing new businesses and getting more jobs. But that's something I'd like to do, and I welcome your support. Thank you.
So let's give just a real brief round of applause. It's about a minute to change our candidates over, and we're going to be doing candidates for mayor next.
Oh, changing candidates.
All right.
All right, thank you everybody for your attention. We're going to get started with your candidates for mayor of Peekskill. They have drawn lots for the order that they're going in, so we're going to start the same thing. Opening statements, they get a minute and a half, so it may feel like they're talking a little bit longer. Maybe they'll be able to get all their points in.
It's not that long.
Not that long, no, when it's you, I know. So we're going to start with Vincent Vesey and then our other candidate, Andre Rainey. So, gentlemen, opening statements, Vincent.
Okay, good morning and thank you for having us here today. I'm just going to not go through my bio. It's online. Anybody wants to read it. I only have a minute and a half, so I want to get through this. I have a plan for Peekskill. Plain and simple, and when elected, we will protect families by addressing overcrowded, unsafe living conditions in our older neighborhoods. We will repeal the unfair real estate transfer tax on single-family homes that penalizes Peekskill seniors and long-term residents. We will institute workable initiatives to achieve a carbon-neutral Peekskill government. We'll end double taxation of condominium and multifamily and commercial building owners by eliminating and reducing garbage pickup fees, and encourage a cleaner Peekskill for more efficient DPW and bringing back free Saturday morning trash and recycling drop-off for the residents. We'll introduce City Hall Saturdays once a month to provide opportunity for citizens who find it difficult to conduct city business during the week and workday hours, and institute an online citizen resume and application bank for those interested in serving on our city boards. We will amend the city charter to require bipartisan representation on all city boards and commissions. And we will pledge to conduct city business transparently and to use executive sessions only for lawful reasons. And most importantly, I'll make City Hall a place that works for the citizens of Peekskill again by reorganizing and re-energizing our city workforce that has been plagued with political overreach and interference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rainey.
Mr. Bessie. That's Bessie.
No, you. I'm
Oh,
calling
okay.
you. Sorry.
All right, so good morning and thank you to the League of Women Voters and the NAACP and the members of this wonderful community. My name is Andre Rainey and I'm the current mayor of the city of Peekskill and the youngest mayor of the city of Peekskill. When I first took office, I was able to bring stability, communication, and a new perspective to local government, especially here in the city of Peekskill. Over the years, these assets have allowed me to accomplish so much in just 2 years. This comes from understanding the most valuable priority in this city. That's the residents. Everyone's priority has become this council's priority. From the issues of climate change, we know they're real. The issues in public housing, we know they're real. Quality of life issues, we know they're real. Educational issues, we know they're real. Taxes, we know they're real. And just the everyday life responsibilities are real. And in a year and a half time, we've been able to address all of these issues in different ways. Since I've become mayor, our seniors have been given more and better programs and the attention they deserve. And importantly, our youth have as well. From culinary programs to new boys and girls clubs, there's a lot going on in the city of Peekskill thanks to this administration. Community members feel comfortable sharing their ideas and even their criticism with this administration and myself because for the first time in years, we brought order and respect to our meetings. We also remind one another that we represent you. Today we'll answer questions that mean the most to you, and I encourage you to be mindful of those who answer with what you want to hear versus those who answer with the truth and what has been done. People have given up on government and even voting because they felt that politicians never done much for them.
Thank you.
We've proven
Mr.
otherwise.
Rainey, thank you.
Thank you.
But you can stay standing if you like, because you're going to do the first question.
Certainly.
So, what will you do about zombie houses throughout the city?
One of the major issues that that landed on my lap when I first took office was the fact that we didn't have a building inspector. Within the last 2 months, we hired a building inspector, and in this budget, if you read it, we're actually looking to make that building inspector position a full-time position to address some of the needs of these houses. One of the issues that we've always talked about when it comes to that is the fact that the city of Peekskill hasn't had one for almost 4 years. We've had so much, we're behind so far in that area, in that department, that the building inspectors that have come into Peekskill looked at it as an overload. It's a little bit too much for them to handle. We finally found somebody within the last 3 months that's here in the city of Peekskill, and we're looking to make that a full-time position thanks to the work of our staff and our city manager and this great council. This is an issue that we know needs to be addressed, and of course, as I said before, we're working towards making a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Becky.
So working towards these goals, and I appreciate the question because I've been very clear on my plan for zombie homes and what it does to the quality of life in our neighborhoods. I'm going to institute a law in the city of Peekskill that after 6 months of working with banks and working with landlords that have not taken care of their properties or left them on our streets in deplorable condition, that we will raise those homes to the ground and have an empty lot on your street rather than having a boarded up old condemned property with 6 feet of grass in front of it. That will raise the property values for those in that community as well as in those neighborhoods. It'll protect the citizens that live there. So I've been very clear on this. It's a concrete plan. It's something we intend to institute immediately if I am elected mayor. The other process here is building inspectors. 4 years for hiring a building inspector, to me, is just a sign of the unprofessional leadership in City Hall. It doesn't take 4 years to hire a building inspector, and it shouldn't take, we should have more than one, okay? We should have 2 or 3 building inspectors, especially with the amount of activity and building going on in this community. Thank you.
And you can stay standing if you like. Yeah, that's the thing with just two.
We get a workout here.
Yes. So how would you or how do you plan to address City Hall transparency and accessibility with the city manager publicly?
With the city manager publicly.
Yes.
Well, the city manager works for the city council. I believe that he is an open and honest man, and he should, if he's not derelict in his duties, be providing answers to the community as they ask them. I will tell you that one of the things that we plan to do is open City Hall once a month on Saturdays for citizens to come in, do city business for about a half a day, and if they have questions that need to be answered, one of the things that they can do at that time will meet with city staff to address their issues. The other thing that I will do is I will hold office hours for those individuals that do not want to come to a Monday night meeting and feel uncomfortable maybe talking about their issues on camera. They will have an opportunity to sit with me and one of the staff members that needs to resolve any issues that they may have on a weekly, monthly basis, depending on the need.
The greatest thing about being the mayor is when you get questions like this, you actually can answer them off experience. The office in the city of Peekskill, the mayor's office, is open to the public. Every meeting that I've had in the city of Peekskill in my office has been by call. There is no specific set hours for me. If you want to speak to me at 7 o'clock at night, you can email me or text me. You want to speak to me at 4 o'clock in the morning, which have been done, you can email me or text me. The greatest thing about this is with technology, since we've improved so much technology in the last couple of years, when you call the city mayor's phone right now in the office, my cell phone rings. Every phone call that's gone to the city office goes to my cell phone. I never miss a call. If my voicemail is full, probably because I'm getting a lot of calls in a day, but I never miss a call. And the other thing about transparency, this council has brought so much fairness to the council meetings that it's hard to argue with me. If you look at past council meetings, you've seen people get argued, you've seen people get kicked out, you've seen people get yelled at, you've seen all types of, there's people that are on the news for causing ruckus in our council meetings. We create and promote respect at every single meeting. And as far as the transparency goes, this council speaks about everything at council meetings, Anything that's in executive session has to be dealt with in executive session, despite what they've said on any platform of social media. Anything that this council does in executive session has to be discussed in executive session.
Thank you. Mr. Rainey, you can stay standing.
No.
I know.
I get
You're
used
getting
to
a
it.
sign work.
I get used to it. I get used to it.
Exactly. What are your plans to make Peekskill a green city?
Well, great question. Since I've been on the council, I can definitely say Deputy Mayor Kathy Talbot has really installed in me the needs to realize that we need to go 100% renewable energy. When I first decided to run for council, one of the first things she said to me is, if you don't understand the needs of renewable energy and going 100% green, I can't support you as my candidate for mayor or council. So realizing that, we've worked with all of the people that have come in the city. We just passed a $4 million Honeywell project that's going to help change and reduce all of the carbon inside the entire city of Peekskill. We're also working with developers now. When you come in the city of Peekskill, you just can't come in the city of Peekskill and build what you want to build. The 645 Main Street project is going to be one of the first ever. It's going to be a mixed income project. In that actual project, he's producing electric car charging stations because he realized the value of the city of Peekskill. Car charging stations, continued awareness, and most importantly, the education. Doing different town hall meetings. Our staff member, Jessica Youngblood, has been phenomenal with this. Educating the people. One of the issues that I had when I first got on the council was all of these issues in the climate change, they were unfamiliar to me. So the key now is to continue to educate the people on what's being done and what we're doing, and also promote a green city. We're working with the senator now to expand our trailways and walking. We're working with the governor, with the county executive now to try to receive more grants for electric charging stations and solar farms. And somebody spoke earlier about the South Street property. The actual issue was the organization that brought the presentation to Peekskill South Street property, they didn't have the finances to do it.
Mr. Bessie, question?
I'll just jump on that issue right away because I got calls from both of the developers, and 2 out of the 3 that proposed during that process that were very upset that those environmental sustainable projects did not go through. And they did have the funding, one of which has plans that if I'm mayor, we'll continue to do something down on Corporate Drive. But my issue is this, we hear a lot of lip service about this. The Honeywell project was a flawed procurement. It was basically against all procurement policies. The same thing happened on Lower South Street, where we had 3 people propose, 2 were sustainable projects, and not one of those individuals were even, we never canceled the RFP, we never canceled the bid, and we went and made a deal with another developer for housing down there. So, we hear a lot about what they want to do, but when it comes down to the projects in hand, they don't pull the trigger. So, I was involved in the LED lighting project here when I was on the city council and changing over all the street lights in the parking garages to LED. I support all programs in my professional life. I work in the transit industry where we are electrifying city transit for the City of New York and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. So I have a lot of experience and knowledge in that field. One of the things we also want to provide are LEED standards to our building codes here in the City of Peekskill. So they are requirements, not options for developers when they come here. Thank you.
You can, yeah. Okay. So as we look forward to the 2020 census, we're mindful that it's important to have an accurate count because this is connected to funding and how districts are drawn up. What will you do to ensure that we get an accurate count, and what will you do to push back against gerrymandering and redlining?
That's a very interesting question. I don't know, other than the fact that the support that the city can give the individuals that are operating and running the census from the federal government, any and all cooperation that the city can give them in getting the word out to our citizens. I think it is very important to have an accurate count, as you have mentioned, as it relates to funding for the city of Peekskill in many different avenues from the county, the state, and federal level. So just on that note, just cooperating and making sure that anybody that is providing that, the census takers, and giving them every ability to access every household in the city of Peekskill if they may need to, by promoting it and bringing awareness to the program.
Experience. Literally 3 weeks ago, the city of Peekskill held a meeting at the Central Firehouse, and Deputy Mayor Kathy Talbot was there. Members of the Peekskill Area Pastors Association were there. Community stakeholders and members of the Human Relations Commission was also present. at the Central Firehouse in the city of Peekskill to create a committee to address the census needs in the city of Peekskill. And this was also spearheaded by the staff of the city of Peekskill as well as myself. We met with the members of the federal government that he's speaking about on ways that the city of Peekskill can help address this need, because as we all know, that accurate count can affect the finances that each city and municipality receives from the state and federal government. So we've already started this process, and we're also at this time we're also looking for more volunteers. Each stakeholder has a different background. We have the faith-based stakeholders, we have the community-based stakeholders, we have the school-based stakeholders. School board members were there, and I can go, the list goes on, but there was a little bit of everybody that represents this community there. So the idea is to not just talk about and give lip service, we can actually tell you what we're doing and also what's being done.
You know you're going to stay standing.
Oh.
It's okay.
I just told him that.
I know. So, this question is asking for your opinion on taxes when selling your residence and moving to another residence, both within the city.
Well, first of all, nobody wants to pay the transfer tax, that's for sure. Second of all, I don't want anybody to leave Peekskill, so hopefully you stay. The most important thing too is that was created years ago by an administration to help with the needs of the city of Peekskill. And over the last 4 years, we have it's about a $16 million central firehouse in the city of Peekskill. And we didn't have to necessarily raise taxes or do anything like that to get that. Transfer tax helped fund that. So there are different initiatives by different administrations that they try to do to help save the taxpayers money, as well as give the taxpayers the services that they need and the requirements that they need to make the city a safer and better place. So though I do believe that the transfer tax did upset a lot of people, it was something that the city needed to move forward at that time.
This is one of our initiatives. We are going to repeal the transfer tax for senior citizens that are selling their homes in the city of Peekskill, maybe downsizing and moving to another home in the city of Peekskill or condominium. And we don't believe that those individuals should be unfairly taxed for staying in the community, one of which they probably lived in most of their life. So that's one of the things we'll do right off the bat. That fund has about $5.6 million in it. Okay, we can almost pay off half of that bond right if we wanted to today. So we don't believe that will severely impact our ability to pay down that bond and continue to do the work while not penalizing the citizens in this community. So we made that very clear, and that's something we'll do day one. One of the other things it does is, with this transfer tax in place, people that want to move to this community know that that's in place. They may not come here. And it also lowers property values. Because people that want to sell their homes now have to take into account that they have to assess this 1% onto an incoming buyer. So I understand why it was put in place, but at this point in time, especially with the budget that I'm looking at right here, it needs to be repealed, and this is the first phase of it.
Thank you. You want to stay?
You wait till I get home and sit down.
Okay. Are you satisfied with the current business and economic climate of the city of Peekskill, or do you feel that more needs to be done?
I do feel that more needs to be done. But that being said, the city of Peekskill is in a great place. Over a number of years and a number of administrations, I think we've all worked collectively in this community to continue to grow Peekskill and try to make the right decisions for Peekskill from an economic perspective. But one of the things I think we're severely lacking, and it was mentioned in the council discussion here today, was the amount of commercial growth that we've had here in the city of Peekskill. Restaurants are nice. Service industry thrives here in a lot of different ways. But if we're not creating jobs for our youth, if we're not creating opportunities for those in need in our own community, then I don't think we're focused on the right things here. So I think we need to do a lot more work on developing the commercial base. We had a Office of Economic Development now. The gentleman, Jim Pinto, had retired in July. We haven't seen any movement on that front. We have a PR firm that, in my opinion, is more there to put out press releases for the mayor's office that actually promote the city. So I think that that has to be looked at as well. And all the programs around developing business opportunities for the city of Peekskill from City Hall's perspective needs to be revamped. Thank you.
Next question again.
Yes.
Please.
Are you satisfied with the current business and economic climate of the city, or do you feel that more needs to be done?
Okay, so first, definitely more needs to be done, certainly. I will say that we did hire a PR firm to help get the word out about the great things that are happening in the city of Peekskill, New York. We've had a lot of issues in the past with the reputation of our school district and so on and so forth. So we hired this PR firm. And the PR firm does put out a lot of press releases from the city of Peekskill and from the mayor's office, because the mayor's office is what represents Peekskill, which is a priority. The other thing is we just received a $10 million downtown revitalization grant. This goes to improving our downtown, period. In this last year and a half, we've received $14 million in grants in a year. No administration has done this yet. $14 million in grants in a year. We're actually receiving another one on the 17th of this month from the Senator Harkin's office, which is going to be $200,000 to expand our trailway at Fort Hill. So one of the things that I can say about this administration is we haven't been the selfish administration that says, I'm the boss, this is what I want done. When we did the DRI grant, we reached out to the chamber, we reached out to the bid, they helped put a video together. Democrats, Republican, whoever, whatever. It was never about that, and it's never about that with anybody on this administration, and the only time you ever hear that it's about that is during campaign season when we run against the people that we're running against. But for the most part, the success that the city has gotten this far is because we are a bipartisan city, because we are a city that collectively works together and shares one vision, and that's to make the city of Peekskill one of the greatest cities ever.
And now you can stand again.
Oh, God. You know,
Where do you stand on holding the line on taxes, fees, and fines in Peekskill? And would you pledge, if elected, to try to reduce spending and work for further reduction in taxes in the future?
No, we certainly. If you look at the most current budget, the city manager put together with our tax assessors only a 1% increase, and we haven't had a budget this low in years. When Bessie was on the council, there was Mr. Bessie, sorry. When Mr. Bessie was on the council, there's a 5% increase. But since I've been in office, we have 5.7. Since I've been in office, we haven't had more than a 2% increase. And as many of you may know, the governor came to Peekskill, New York, to announce the 2% tax cap that he's putting on for all of the entire state of New York. So I think that's something that we have to keep in mind. And as the future, as we go forward, I think this administration, Deputy Mayor Kathy Talbot, Councilwoman Vivian McKenzie, and Councilwoman Patricia Riley, they all fight for low taxes. As far as the fees go in the city of Peekskill, you know, we've worked with the city of Terrytown to create what we call a one-day variance fee, and that's when we open the city hall once or twice a year during a random day, and we let anybody who has any parking tickets come in and pay their parking tickets and eliminate all of the fees. This has an incentive to the city of Peekskill, or to the residents and visitors of the city of Peekskill. But I will say, when you do come to the city of Peekskill and you pay fees, this wonderful staff is willing to work with almost everybody. They really do their best, and they really try to work with everybody, and they do eliminate a lot of the fees sometimes, especially when they know that they understand that you're dealing with hardships and whatnot. So I think we're already doing that, and we will continue to do that as long as we're in office.
Thank you.
I'm not sitting down.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. Where do you stand on holding the line on taxes, fines, and fees in Peekskill? And would you pledge, if elected, to try to reduce spending and work to further reduce taxes in the future?
Of course, and the tax increase that Mr. Rainey is referring to, when I was on the city council in the minority, so I did vote for that, but it also was elected, pushed out by our majority of our council. But just looking at the fees, we're looking to eliminate fees for the garbage especially. We have a double taxation going on here in the city of Peekskill, where you pay for your garbage pickup through your taxes, and then you're assessed an additional fee if you're a condominium or if you live in multifamily or a commercial building. Just by reference, if you look at revenues in the current city budget that I just looked at, our departmental income is down $800,000 over 2018, and 8 out of 9 expenses are up to a tune of almost $1.9 million. So there's a lot of room in this budget for improvement. You know, included in this budget is a 2% increase in your water fees and another 2% increase in your sewer fees. So every year, whether you believe it or not, they say they're only charging 1% on your taxes, and you have to stay under this arbitrary cap that someone in Albany pushed down on our community. But the reality is this community is now assessing fees to make up for those deficient tax revenues. So, You know, they're built into the budget. Look at it. You can say you only raise taxes 1%, but I'm paying 4% more on my water bill. So, you know, it's all right here in black and white.
Okay. Our final question before the closing statements, Mr. Bessie starts. I think they're going to just stand for the rest of this.
Makes sense.
What are your top 3 priorities, if all?
My top 3 priorities are bringing transparency back to City Hall. We've had a number of issues on the procurement side, on issues with the Paramount, on multiple issues with the Honeywell contract, that I think it was evident to this community that transparency was lacking in a lot of those decisions. We want to bring back some fiscal responsibility, as I outlined here in this budget. There's a lot of room for reducing expenses more and increasing our revenues more importantly. And I think a lot of that has to do with our departmental revenues. And the last piece of the project for me would be to create a sustainable environment here in the city of Peekskill. The number of projects that we can continue to do. I'd like to relocate our DPW and our city garage, which is something I talked about. It should have been in the RFP for Lower South Street, so we could have coupled that with some public-private partnership and moved these facilities down to our corporate drive facility. So those were the top 3. Obviously, I have our transfer tax initiative. There's a number of initiatives that I outlined here. I think there was 11 that I outlined here in the beginning of this that we'll hit the ground running with. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. My first priority was, always is, and always will be the youth, the education, the after-school programming. This is why I'm excited to announce that we're looking to bring a Boys and Girls Club to the city of Peekskill. Peekskill Housing Authority already agreed to a 50-year lease to bring the Boys and Girls Club to the city of Peekskill, but we're working with the county and the state to bring the funding, which we've been approved for. We've got $1 million in private investment already to bring the capital improvements to the building, which is very necessary for the kids to be here. So the youth and the education is first. This wasn't always a priority of mine, but since I've been on the council, I've learned so much, so it's certainly a priority now. The climate change issues that we must address, and the environmental justice. There are a lot of things that I didn't know before I got on the council that I've learned in the last 4 years as a council person and as the mayor of the city of Peekskill. And most importantly, the needs of the people. We want to make sure we do keep the taxes down low. He just said that there's a 4% increase in the water taxes. He admitted to voting to a 5% increase on your taxes. So imagine if you have a 5% increase on your taxes plus a 4% increase on water taxes, you're just getting taxed out of Peekskill. The idea is to make sure that we focus on the people that live here. I would hate to bring all of this great stuff. I shouldn't say hate. I'd be unfortunate to bring all of this wonderful stuff to the city of Peekskill, and as soon as I'm out of office, I can't afford to live here either. Those are my three.
All right, so we're going to do closing statements in the same order we did opening. So Mr. Bessie, begin.
I apologize for reading, but I want to get through this minute and a half. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today on the issues that you care most about in this year's upcoming election in the city of Peekskill. In just a few short weeks, I'm honored and humbled to be here today as a mayoral candidate for the city of Peekskill. Along with my team of running mates, 3 talented professionals and friends for city council, Warren Brady, Marlon Mahan, and Louis Segarra, who unfortunately could not be here with us today. All of us who are committed to putting our best effort forward, working with everyone in the community to move Peekskill forward and truly achieving the potential that has been talked about in Peekskill since I was a child here. I'm not new to politics. As many of you know, I've served on the city council from 2014 through 2017, where we had made great progress in the city of Peekskill in a very short period of time. Unfortunately, in a much shorter period of time, since the last election, I've seen that progress come to a halt. And the great strides that we had made just under 2 years ago has fallen victim to partisan politics, uninformed decision-making, and political patronage that this city can no longer afford. Our current elected officials now ride that wave of success with a smile and hope that the wave will continue forever. But without the proper foresight, planning, and professional stewardship, I feel it will not last. As with any election, I cannot do this alone. I rely on the support of those that share the same vision for the city of Peekskill that I do. I rely on my friends and neighbors that want the best for everyone in Peekskill and not just a select few. I rely on those that want the city of Peekskill to realize its potential by supporting our children, our seniors, our business community, and every resident of every community within our city.
Thank you. Mr. Rainey.
Unbalanced budget under the tax cap. Highest credit rating for Moody's since 2013. $3.4 million in projects and funds, $950,000 of DOS grant infrastructure, $750,000 of CDBG grant, $750,000 in HUD grants, $300,000 in New York State Main Street grant, $250,000 through the New York Dormitory Authority, $200,000 on micro enterprise grants, which goes towards minority, women, and black-owned enterprises. $100,000 from environmental facilities, $50,000 from NYSERDA to install LED lights in the Nelson Garage, which he said he helped, $16,000 for 2 electric car stations, Where is he saying, when he says that the city's not moving forward, what is he talking about? My thing is this, as a city of Peekskill mayor, my job is to make sure that I represent you and do the best that I can for you. Deputy Mayor Kathy Talbot has been fighting for climate change since she's been on this council. Councilwoman Vivian McKenzie has been fighting for the downtown and the businesses, and of course the minority businesses. She's been on this council. Patricia Riley is not necessarily new, but she's new to me. But she's been fighting for union jobs. She's been fighting for the PLA system. She's been fighting for the stuff that matters to the people of Peekskill the most. And I've been just collectively trying to fight for all of them. If you keep us in that office, we will continue the process. Right now, the stars of the line. We've built great relationships with the county executive. We've built great relationships with the New York State Senator. We've built great relationships with the New York State Governor. The Governor's been in Peekskill 4 times since I've been in office. And one thing I do say that me and Vinny both agree on, and it's fun, is that me and Vinny both agree on, is it is very fun to work with Democrats. I hope that I get your vote this year.
Very fun. Our final forum is for Board of Legislators. If you have any questions for those candidates, please write them on the index card, bring them up to our timekeeper, Mary, or myself, really quick. We'll just take a few minutes, stretch your legs, and we'll go forward. Colin Smith here. Okay, everybody, thank you. You guys have been fantastic so far. I really appreciate the continued attention. And we've got one more this morning. It's been a busy morning, and we're going to get going with the Board of Legislators District 1. We have Mr. Colin Smith and Mr. Frank Catalina. They have drawn lots ahead of time as this morning. So they'll be going for their opening statements. These gentlemen get a minute and a half for their opening and closing statements. Again, those will be done in the same order. They get a minute and a half to answer each question, and we'll be alternating that just as we have been. So Mr. Smith is going to be starting with his opening statement.
Good morning, everyone, and Better? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out today, and it's great to see this many people in the community come out and show support for the candidates and for the process. For those who don't know me, my name is Colin Smith. I reside here in Peekskill. I'm born and raised here. Currently sit on the Peekskill Common Council. By profession, I am an attorney. I went to the Peekskill schools here, graduated from law school at Pace University down in White Plains back in 2003. From my graduation in law school, I was at the Bronx District Attorney's Office where I started my legal career. And since then, I've been doing mainly criminal defense work for the last 13 years. So it's exciting for me to be here today. I've enjoyed serving my community over the last 8 years. 6 of them on the school board, and now coming up on 2 years in the council. That's what I'm about. I'm about service. I'm about the community. And I'm looking forward to serving the community if I'm fortunate enough to be elected to the county legislature, and continue my good work there. And before we get started, I just want to wish a good luck to all the candidates, including my opponent here, Mr. Catalina. And that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Catalina, your statement.
Well, first of all, thank you for hosting this, and thank you all for coming out so early on a Saturday. I guess it was early when this started. My name is Frank Catalina. I don't know if anybody here knows. I used to be mayor here for 4 years. When I took off, I can tell you where I went to high school, Peekskill High School, class of '75. I can tell you all about my education, but I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing law in Peekskill for 38 years. I have a partner who's my daughter, and it's very good that she came with me 7 years ago because she told me all the things I've been doing wrong for the 30 years before she got there. She left me in May to have a baby, and I'm not really sure about maternity leaves, but apparently this one is going to last into next year. And I can't argue with her because she's my daughter. I became mayor of the city. I've held every single legal position in the city of Peekskill except judge. I was a deputy corporation counsel, I was a prosecutor, attorney for the planning, zoning, all boards of the city of Peekskill, culminating with being the corporation counsel back in 99, 2000. I've served under 5 mayors of the city of Peekskill. I've lived here virtually all my life, except for the years when I was married and we raised our children over in Monroe. But I came back after my wife's death and have always come here for work. I took office in the city of Peekskill at a time when the city was about 2 to 3 months.
Thank you. So you might as well stay standing. We kind of ran into this in the last meeting. So our first audience question, and this is written as a yes or no question, but I think they'd like you to expound a little bit as well. Will you keep gun show out of the county center?
Yes.
To add to that?
No. Unless, if people want me to. I mean, this is something that's been controversial. It was a big thorn in the side of our former county executive. And, when I operated as mayor in Peekskill, I was a minority mayor. I could not get anything done unless we could peel off 2 or 3 votes from the other side. And, and that's how I operate. And, if the county legislature is against it, some things are worth fighting for. New development, lower taxes, decreased regulation, things like that. But, little things like that, which are a big thing to people, I don't think it's worth using up a lot of political capital for. There's more important things. Take a walk down through Playland and see how terrible it is. It needs a lot of work and a lot of improvement. Take a walk down at Blue Mountain Park, a county park. It's absolutely a disgrace. So those are the things worth fighting for, not who rents out the county center for a weekend, in my opinion.
Okay, so I concur with Mr. Catalina. I am in favor of keeping the ban from the gun show in the county center. And I think that there's good reason for that, not just because the majority of the legislature happens to currently hold that same position, but I think that in today's society, with the increased explosion in gun violence, I think that we as a society need to do everything we can to send a message that while gun ownership is certainly something that is right under the Constitution, the proliferation of guns is what we're fighting against. And so on those grounds, I would not be in favor of lifting that ban.
You can stay standing. When you're alternating just 2, right? Okay, so as we look forward to the 2020 census, we're mindful it's important to have an accurate count because it's connected to funding and how districts are drawn up. What would you do to ensure we will get an accurate count, and what will you do to push back against gerrymandering and redlining?
I thought you were going to give me a hard question. So I think, measures are already underway with regards to the 2020 census. There's census takers. There's in Westchester County, I know there's a great there's already a network in place to hire on census takers and to make sure that we get accurate counts across the community, because, as you say, it affects funding, and of course it also affects the other issues you mentioned with respect to redistricting. What I would do to ensure that is to, as a county legislator and at the local level, is to continue to work with the federal government, with the Census Bureau, to make sure that we have as much, they have the resources, the human capital that they need to ensure that an accurate census is taken, and that people who maybe don't feel comfortable, we find ways to reach people. I mean, I think that's the biggest challenge is finding ways to reach people. Now there's a variety of ways electronically. It's not just door to door anymore. So we have to make sure that there's people that can fit those slots, and that can make sure that we reach out to everybody and make them feel safe in giving the information, and not feel like they may be in jeopardy by giving that information. So.
Mr. Canada.
Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
Sure.
Thank you.
So as we're looking forward to the 2020 census, we're mindful it's important to have an accurate count because it's connected to funding and how districts are drawn up. What will you do to ensure we get an accurate count, and what will you do to push back against gerrymandering and redlining?
Okay, so I absolutely agree it's important to have an accurate count. New York State has lost seats over the past 20 years, and I believe, as does our current governor, that we've lost those seats as a result of inaccurate counting, not loss of population. if it were up to me, I think the county can spend some money to actually hand out some money to the communities where paid volunteers can go out and help get an accurate census count. I don't know if they have a budget for it, but I think that's something that they can do. I mean, we have candidates who pay people to go out and get their signatures on their petitions. Certainly government can pay to get an accurate count, so we as New Yorkers do not lose congressional seats as a result of that accurate count. As far as the gerrymandering, I don't know. I mean, our district goes from Montrose all the way up Route 6 to, I believe, the Somers line. So it takes an hour on a Saturday morning to travel the district just to drive there, let alone stopping and campaigning or stopping shopping. So it's I don't know who drew that district, but God bless them. It's gerrymandering's some of the congressional seats stretch from Sullivan County through Orange County over into Dutchess. And, they have to get 65,000 people, I guess, for each of the legislative districts. So I don't really know how they sit and do that. Hopefully I'll be a part of it, unless it's done this year before next year. So.
Stay standing. What are your top 3 priorities if elected?
Well, this district, Drew Claxton was a councilwoman in Peekskill for, almost 20 years or so. She had a phrase, environmental and social justice. And I really, to be truthful, I didn't really get it until you sit and look at this district. I'm not going to say we're the dumping ground for Westchester County, but we burn every piece of garbage that every community discards. We get truck traffic up here that's unbelievable every day. We have a sanitary sewer district that serves a large part of the county, right down behind Dunbar Heights. We have the Indian Point Power Plant, which thankfully is going to close, but it's going to be a contaminated waste area for generations. We have the AIM pipeline that's coming through. These things are serious, and now we have proposals by the county to fund a great expansion of our homeless shelter. I believe every community has an obligation to take care of their homeless shelter. Peekskill had a shelter for about 30 years, and it's a 12 to 15 bed facility. I ran the Rotary meal program every week. We served somebody there, and I ran that program for 3 years and served a lot of meals there. I don't think we ever were at capacity down there. So I think Peekskill is doing its part to take care of its homeless. I don't think the county should be closing facilities in Mount Vernon, White Plains, New Rochelle, and then giving $1 million to a private organization to greatly expand our shelter to 50 to 60 beds. So I don't believe we should be the dumping ground for that.
Top 3 priorities?
Yes.
Okay. So Mr. Callahan named some pretty important issues. In my opinion, there's the environment, there's the economy, obviously, taxes, and jobs. And I think with respect to the environment, one of the biggest, the looming crisis that we're facing in this district is the shutdown of Indian Point, the decommissioning process, which is starting to get underway, and the many issues surrounding that. Most of which, from a decision standpoint, are made at the state and federal level, but with respect to the impact that has on the local communities, I feel that the county really can and should do more to try and blunt the impact that that's going to have on the local tax base and on the local job economy. And of course, when it comes to the environment, the question is what to do with the spent fuel rods that will be there for the next 1,000 years, not really, but quite some time. And is there a way to utilize that in order to maybe perhaps fund or tax it and draw in some revenue that can go to help or again blunt the impact. And with respect to jobs, I think that one of my goals would be to work closely with local labor. Phenomenal internship programs, apprenticeship programs. Not everybody who's coming out of school is going to college or is going into the military, and we want to be able to make sure that they have an opportunity to work. Thank you. Stay safe.
Yeah. So what are your plans to make your district more of a green district?
More of a green district. Okay. So I think that continuing to work with the county with respect to the waterfront here in Peekskill, as well as at Buchanan and Cortland. There's work that could be done there. The county is currently working on, I think, a number of measures with respect to banning of single-use plastics, with respect to straws, and with respect to just cleanup of some of the local water area, some of the local ponds and watersheds. So I think that those are some good areas to start. I also think that working to provide more eco-friendly vehicles, electric vehicles, more electric charging stations where we can, where available or where appropriate, and things of that nature.
Thank you. Mr. Cowley.
I daydream a lot.
Oh, same question about making the district more green.
Okay. I think with all the incentives on the federal and state level, people are coming up with new ideas every day. Banning plastic straws is, sounds like a little trivial thing, but it's actually a great idea. Plastics, I remember the movie The Graduate. The guy said, well, I have one advice to you, plastics. And that's the way this society went. I think any proposal that's reasonable in cost to the people and to developers and to industry in general should be looked at. The county legislature is pro-green. I think everybody's pro-green. I don't think it's a Democrat or Republican issue. And anything that we can do, more charging stations would be great. And I go to court just about every day in White Plains. I don't see any electric charging stations, but I do see them in private industry. Some of the hotels in the area, some of the shopping centers are starting to pop up electric charging stations. I think government can do a lot more, especially county government.
Thank you. You can stay standing. So the next question is, what is your vision for the community?
For the county?
For the county and for Peekskill?
Well, as a legislator for District 1, my priority is District 1. Anything that's good for District 1 will be my priority, and I fight for it. Secondly, if it's good for my district, then is it good for Westchester County? And I will fight for it. I listed the environmental injustice that Peekskill and this district sustains as a result of all of those things that I won't list them again. So those are, I think, need to be balanced out and addressed. I think there's more that we can do on the AIM pipeline, even though it's been basically approved and constructed. I think we have to really fight for our rights on Indian Point. Those people, like the governor, who screamed and yelled to have it shut down, should have a contingency plan to save Buchanan, who's losing 50% of their funding, and the Henry Hudson School District, which is losing about 40% of their funding. Peekskill is not directly impacted tax-wise, but those communities are going to be devastated and they need help. So those are the immediate things. Route 6 is a disaster area. It needs a lot of work. I know it's a state road, but every time I see Senator Harkin, hey, if I can do anything for you, let me know. Well, every time I see him, I'm going to tell him we need help on Route 6. It takes an hour to get from Buchanan to Jefferson Valley, and it shouldn't. So those are some of the things that would be priorities for me.
Okay. Vision.
Vision for the community.
Yes, I'll pick up where my colleague left off. I think that infrastructure is always an important issue. That one of my goals would be to try and secure more resources, more county funding to help with the infrastructure in this area. That means partnering with the state and other officials to make that happen. And I think that's the direction we have to move in. I also think that particularly in Peekskill, but across this district, and in light of the closure of Indian Point, affordability is a huge issue that we're facing, and people need affordable solutions to live, to stay here. People who want to move into this area, young families with children. We've done a pretty good job in Peekskill at increasing the affordable housing here. Some of the outlying communities could use some more, and so one of my priorities would be to work and partner with the local communities to fight for more affordable solutions, particularly for our seniors, allowing them to age in place.
And you can stay standing, of course. So, Mr. Smith, how would you determine budget priorities?
Well, budget priorities, I think, when you're talking about the county budget, I mean, the first and foremost, we're talking about making sure that our necessary agencies receive their proper funding, whether it's social services, public safety, the district attorney's office, and staffing, which is always the largest ticket on any budget. So I think that we have to start with what are the most important areas in which the county needs to function in order to properly service its constituents. With respect to taxes and tax increases, of course, my goal and my practice has been to always support a budget that stays within the now state mandated state law tax cap, because we live in a county which is one of the highest taxed counties in the country, and while our taxes are going up, the means to support oneself and stay within that that tax frame is not necessarily increasing at the same time, and so my priority would always be to make sure that we have measured tax growth by at the same time trying to maintain the same level of county services that are necessary for us to continue.
Thank you. Mr. Catalina, how would you determine budget priorities?
Being a member of the legislature, I think we're going to be guided by the majority. When an executive, the county executive, and his staff proposes a budget, they set their priorities, and it's up to the legislature to chip away or add or subtract to different areas. Rob Astorino was the county executive for several years. He had no tax increase, but he cut substantially services to people that needed those services most, whether it be daycare, expansion of the Beeline bus system. So when those services are cut or not expanded to meet real people's needs, then in my opinion, government is not serving the true, the intended people that it should serve, the people. And I'm a lawyer. When I represent somebody with a DWI, in order for them to get a hardship license, they have to show that they have no other way to get to work. So I had somebody from Peekskill, and they had to show that there was no train and there was no bus that they could use. And the client said, well, there is a bus I can use. I'd have to take the Peekskill bus to this and the Ossining and that and that. And it took 3 hours to get to White Plains. So I was stuck before a judge not to lie and say there's no bus schedule. There is a bus schedule, Judge. It's just ridiculous. And so that's the kind of thing I think Northern Westchester gets shortchanged all the time when it comes to county services and county budgets. So those types of things in the budget, not to make an extra job for some politician's nephew over in Playland, or put another no-show job where somebody else is.
Thank you.
Those are the services that people rely upon.
So if you can stay standing, or do the crowd's workout. Are you satisfied with the current business and economic climate, specifically of Peekskill, or do you feel that more needs to be done?
No, when I was mayor, about $2 million worth of new construction took place in the 6 years prior to my taking office. In the 4 years that I was in office, we had $500 million of economic activity. We have 524 new residential units today than we had before I was mayor. We have 24 new commercial establishments either operating or under construction as a result of what passed during my administration. With that being said, the construction jobs are going crazy. There's more there's more companies advertising for work than there are people applying. I think the economic climate for business is very good right now. There's always more we can do, but we're doing pretty good.
And I think that the economic climate for business and development in Peekskill right now is very good. I think there's always more that we can do. Since I've been on the council, I've been happy to support several projects that have come into the area that are going to provide more affordable solutions for people to live. I think that over just the last couple of decades, we've all seen an increase in the business, the economic activity here in Peekskill, as well as a revitalization of the downtown area. And speaking of revitalization, Peekskill was just awarded the $10 million Downtown Revitalization Initiative, which is geared to increase economic activity in the targeted communities. And so I think that's just going to give a nice injection, a nice boost to, to further those activities. So I think that the climate is good and the outlook is great.
Stay standing.
That's right, stay standing.
Okay, yes. So, the term bipartisan is something that comes up frequently and is seen as very important. Can you please give examples of bipartisan collaborations that you've been involved with?
So I think that since I've been on the council, it's been an entirely Democratic council. So there's not really been any opportunity in that regard for bipartisanship in the strict sense of the word. However, I've always been somebody who works well with others, regardless of party. On the county legislature, where although the Democrats currently have the majority, I think that there's always room for bipartisanship on an issue, specifically if it's an important issue that requires one to make the decision based on the merits and not necessarily along party lines. And I think that that's a good governance policy. I think that even though we're in a situation where it might not always be necessary, it's always good to listen to and have input from the other side and to try to come to the best decision possible for all parties involved.
Thank you. Mr. Catalina?
Bipartisanship?
Bipartisanship.
It's my expertise. In my 4 years as mayor of the city of Peekskill, nothing happened because of me. It may have come to the forefront, but it needed bipartisan support. Ginsburg, and the good thing is that the big developers are not carpetbaggers who came in because times were bad and the land was cheap. Ginsburg owned his property, tried to build up there for 12 years and was denied. He said, it's cheaper for me to build a fence around my property, both properties down by the river and up there. He said he spent $125,000 fencing in his property rather than dealing with an adverse administration. I welcomed him back in. We got the plans. I presented it to the council. I didn't. He did. He presented it to the council, and we made it something that was great for Peekskill first, and then bipartisan support followed. So Ginsburg, 12 years he waited to build. Carney, right up the street here, the artist loft, he waited about 8 years to build. Alma on Brown and Broad Street, he waited about 10 years to build. And what he was going to be permitted to build was about a 4-story and 5-story structure. And he's building now a beautiful thing, over 200 units. And everybody's going to want to be there for the groundbreaking. But it took bipartisan support. I don't remember exactly who the 1 or 2 Democrats were that voted for it, but it's a great thing when you can get, like I was a minority mayor. Nothing could happen without bipartisan support. I knew that, and I knew we were so bad financially, I knew we couldn't tax our way out of it. We had to grow our way out of it. And that was what I went into office. Read my inaugural speeches, and that will tell you.
Thank you. So this is our final question. You're going to stay standing before we do our closing statements. So taxes have been important. We've asked this of all the candidates in all the different races today. So where do you stand on holding the line on taxes here in Peekskill? And would you pledge, if elected, to try to reduce spending to work for further tax reduction?
Peekskill.
Peekskill and your voters.
Well, like I said, Rob Astorino held the line on taxes, but our quality of life, in my opinion, suffered. He held the line on taxes, but we had pension payments that were deferred, something I screamed about up here in Peekskill. And down the county, it was completely the opposite. The Democrats screamed against it, and the Republicans were all in favor of it because it deferred millions of dollars in payments that were due. So I'm not necessarily in favor of just holding the line on taxes just to say I gave a no tax increase. We have to provide certain things. Every one of us has a house. We're going to pay Con Ed every month. We're going to pay our mortgage. You have set expenses that you're going to pay. So contractually, with the unions and all the other expenses, you need to grow your economy. The assessed valuation has to grow 2 to 4% a year just to stay even, 4 to 6% to get ahead slightly, and over 6%, which Peekskill is in the range now, growing more than 6% a year, they'll have a surplus. So, when I left office, we had a $2.8 million surplus. Today, they have a 3 point whatever. which is really good. We should have at least 10% of our budget as a surplus. So holding the line on taxes, we have to look at what people need. We have to look at the basics, our contracts and our fixed expenses, and then what people need, whether it be a new bus schedule for the county, improving our parks, Blue Mountain Park, Playland Park, whether it be our airport, and things like that. So, there would be a list of priorities and work our way down.
you.
And where the chips fall, they fall.
Mr. Smith.
Could you just repeat that question, please?
So the question is about taxes, and where do you stand on holding the line on taxes here in Peekskill and your district, and would you pledge, if elected, to try to reduce spending to work for further tax reduction in the future?
So, I certainly would hold the line on taxes. As I said previously, we live in one of the most highest taxed counties in the country. And so any measure that can be used to blunt that effect. Reducing taxes is maybe a bit of a different question and maybe not realistic in today's climate, but certainly holding the line on taxes to keep our tax increases below the state mandated cap, pledging to look for ways to reduce expenditures where we can without sacrificing the essential services and the important services that the county provides. And also, continuing to explore new sources of revenue and finding, include one of the measures taken by the county legislature just this past year was to do a leveling of the county sales tax as a measure to offset and prevent, hopefully, a property tax increase. And so there's trying to find creative ways of offsetting some of these expenditures and to hold the line on the tax increases, at least as far as going over the cap is concerned, is absolutely something that I've always supported in the past and will continue to.
Thank you. Okay, so it's time for closing statements.
Oh.
We're going in the same order as opening statements, so you get to start.
Okay, all right. So again, thank you all for coming out and listening today. It's been a real pleasure to be here and speak with you all. I've talked to you about some of my views, some of my experience in municipal life and elected office. And I hope that come election day, starting with early voting on October 26th, that I'll be the candidate that you wish to support. And I wish my opponent good luck.
Catalina, closing statement.
Well, first of all, thank you for putting up with us both. It's been a real pleasure to get down here and actually talk about this race. It's been a fairly quiet race. There hasn't been a lot of bickering going back and forth. I also want to thank my friend, Colin Smith. When he announced that he was running, I announced that I was running. I've known Colin for many years. He's a friend. I told him, you were a friend of mine before this campaign, you'll be a friend of mine after the campaign. It's been a different kind of a race because, having run 3 times in Peekskill, that can be almost hand-to-hand combat. This race has been truly a pleasure to run because it actually is what local politics should be about. Neighbors and friends getting up and explaining the differences of their views and their opinions and working with each other. But he's not a bum, I'm not a bum. He doesn't want to give you dirty water, and I don't want to give you terrible air. We've discussed the issues, and I think people can draw their own conclusions. The only difference I would say with me is that Peekskill, if you think back 4 or 6 years ago, where Peekskill was, I have a solid record of absolute concrete accomplishments. Whether it be bringing development into Peekskill, whether it's bringing sanity back to City Hall. We don't time people anymore. I mean, they may be timed, but we don't enforce the time limits. I've never thrown anybody out of a meeting. And when you are friendly and reasonable with people, they are friendly and reasonable back. So it's been a real pleasure to run this race. And
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of the league and the NAACP for everyone, for the audience, for all the candidates who came and really made this a fantastic forum. I appreciate the fact that everybody was so nice and kind. The questions were fantastic. democracy is not a spectator sport. That is a league slogan, but feel free to use it. And for the first time, we've got early voting. So that starts the October 25th through November 3rd. And then, of course, you can vote. Please vote on Election Day. We have information about early voting and a voter's guide on the table. Please take them. And again, thank you very much